Hey Mark,
Hi,
how you doing,
I'm
man?
I'm doing good. I'm back.
You're back, man. You're back. He's back. um, so what did you think about the first part, Mark?
um, I think it's I think that repo is going to get very busy.
Very
With
busy.
because we've been keeping a pretty tight hold on the Wing SDK to make sure. Sorry, this light is very distracting. That's really
No, no, it's okay. It's okay.
how bad it is.
It's
Um,
not. It's okay.
it's distracting me when I look over at the
Okay.
camera, but I'll try not to do that. So the yeah, we keep a tight hold on the SDK to like, okay, we're working on our abstractions, and then we kind of had this EX namespace where we put some
Right.
extra stuff,
Right.
but now the dam has broken open, and we're like, okay, now we want to make some cool stuff. Let's make
Right.
the cool things and the useful things. So I'm
Let's
excited for that.
experiment a little bit, right?
What's that?
Let's experiment a little bit. What can we build? I've created a lock. I don't know. I created a lock. I'm
Sure.
I have a lock. I mean, it's crazy, and it's gonna get busy. It's gonna get
Hmm.
busy, and it's not that hard. I think it took us 40 minutes right now or 30 minutes, but it did take us pretty much the same time when we did this by ourselves, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And in the meantime, I did the simulator queue, which took me this pretty much kind of 15 minutes. And we have a FIFO queue, which is crazy that is supported both on the simulator on TF-AWS. So it's going to be interesting to see what people build from it. I hope
Yeah,
it's going to be.
it's important dog fooding because we there's still some things missing to make that experience easier. We talked today a few hours ago about
Yeah,
what multi-platform, like implementing multiple platforms and implementing an abstract resource, which currently there is a workaround way to do, but we want
right.
to make that more formal. And I think there's also some difficulties around implementing local simulator, like local simulator implementations. I mean, you guys just brought it up that's why you didn't implement the local version first. And I've seen some other struggles around like, there's maybe some missing primitives when it
Right.
comes to implementing a local simulation for certain types of resources.
Yeah, there's a combination of bugs that I mean, I've seen the WebSocket, for example, the implementation of WebSocket, and there's a combination of bugs and missing tools like APIs. A lot added the state API, the token resolution state,
Mm-hmm.
which closed the huge gap. But we still have some bugs that kind of prevent you from having a very good experience. And also on the AWS side, it's the testing part, the fact that you have to go through the entire cycle of provisioning this, destroying this, running the test. It takes ages. I don't know who can write software like this. I don't have the.
And that's a problem that exists outside of Wing completely. I mean, and
So
that's what we're
someone needs
poised.
to solve
We're
this.
poised to solve it. We're
Oh,
poised
it's
to.
us. It's us.
We're
But
the we're yeah we're working on it. We're it's us.
it's us.
Not yet, but it will be.
That's why the bigger this repo will be, the easier it will be
Yeah,
to write software.
yeah.
Mm.
But there is a question of quality. Can it get bigger and maintain good quality? I
I
don't.
mean, it's still like how do you call it? A trusted library, trusted libraries.
Yeah,
Still something that has a minimum kind of.
right. I kind of feel that we need to lose the trusted one. It's basically we're lowering down the minimum, the bare minimum. I think that basically kind of popularity will determine what should be trusted at the beginning, because it's so easy to edit. Again, I don't need to do anything but create the pull request, and I have an npm package inside Winglang, which is very very easy for me. I mean, I don't have an I don't have an npm. I'm a product guy. I don't have an npm setup account. I don't know how to do. I don't know how to publish stuff to npm. I don't want to create tokens. It's so easy, but I can commit code. So I think
I,
the problem of quality is going to happen, and I want to embrace it. I
yeah,
think.
I don't think we moved pretty fast on this because we wanted to unlock more use cases, and it came right after we supported the like had like the concept of a library working. So we made sure we did that quickly, but there's still more work to do. We have the benefit of a community that is growing but not humongous,
Right.
which
Right.
makes quality work. So we have some time. We have some time to harden and find somewhere in between, like a super insular, closed off ecosystem and an NPM. We can
Right.
find our balance
Right.
in between. So I'm
Right. I
above
agree.
us doing that.
I agree. We should stop before it will become a place to create less pads. That's somewhere before that. We should say, you know what, we have a problem.
But part of quality is also is security, which I think
Yeah.
that's why the word trusted is in there.
Right.
Not just because it's good, but because
Yeah.
we're not gonna let people execute bad code on your
Love it.
computer when you're
Love this,
compiling.
I love this distinction, Mark. It's an important distinction. So the trusted means that you can trust this code not to be malicious. We know the guy. I mean, we know Marcio. We talk to the. I mean, it's not malicious code. This is something that is part of trusted, and we also review it, so we know there's no injection there. It's not just equality. I love this distinction.
This is the App Store of Wing.
Yep, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and we still will allow untrusted things. That's as long as that stays the case. I was concerned about trusted, but I'm pretty bought into the idea. So yeah.
I was bought in only when I went through this no process stuff. I thought
it should get easier. Right now, I still think it's pretty hard compared to how it could be.
MK lib and pull request.
But maintenance.
Okay.
Maintenance is still something to worry about. We don't really have much tooling and process around. It's still there's still some barriers to lower, but you're right. It's probably as easy as it could be with how how much work has been put in, which is
So when you're saying maintenance, you're saying Wing is still breaking. There's no tools to basically kind of upgrade between Wing versions, like what was it? Swift used to do it, which was cool. Gave you an option to move because there was a lot of big changes. Other stuff about maintenance?
Well, as it gets bigger, we need to be able to scale everything that we're doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there will be some problems, but we're fine. We're fine right now.
Yeah. Okay. So Mark, you're not here just to talk about the last session, although this was interesting. You're here to talk about what do we have new in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I was against this, but Uri wanted to try to take your role. Thank God he didn't do a good job, and now we have you.
And he did great.
No, he did great.
I watched.
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also watched when Shai did my stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll speak for our own replacements, and I was fine with mine.
Yeah. So I'll take the fifth.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Awesome.
All right, so let's do it. Let's do changelog. So this changelog is a little light, and partially because there was reInvent happening, so a lot of people from our team were involved in that. We also had some vacation time from people working on the team, so it was a lighter time for changes. Contributors still going. You call that Shai's concerned.
Yeah, Shai wants us to take. I mean, also let's take shortcuts. It's not bad to take shortcuts. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, it's lighter time, but let's go through it. And one thing I will start with is speaking of winglibs, let's talk about one of the the most recent live winglib, which is WebSockets.
Awesome.
So with this resource created by Marcio, you know him and you love him from contributing to Wing. You can now it'll now be able to provision a server. It works in SIM and AWS. I'll say, I guess, both in TF AWS and AWS CDK.
Right.
And you'll be able to make a WebSocket server. And I have a couple of slides for showing it, but so you can make it. A common use case that you'll have with WebSocket servers is a way to keep track of connections. So here's an example of like, okay, I'll make a DynamoDB table to keep track of connection IDs, and then we have a few hooks where you can say, okay, on connect, you can do something with the connection ID that gets generated and pass along from the client. And you can like store that, or if the client disconnects, you can then remove that that connection ID from your table. And then the big one, which is when the WebSocket server receives a message, what can it do with it? And this will go through all the existing connections and kind of just relay the message to all the connected clients to the server. This is just I stole his example from
that was his example. Basically, it's a broadcasting system, right?
Yeah, I mean that's one pretty big use case of WebSockets is since it's bidirectional communication, the client can send to the server and the server can bounce it all over the place.
Does it? Okay. Send message. Is it STR? STR from JSON. Okay, STR dots from JSON. Okay.
Yeah, so it's supposed to send a string, but because this is a JSON, we want to convert it to casting.
Right.
Just casting it.
Awesome.
So
thank you, Marcel.
This is cool. Thank you for that. I put it in he posted about this in the general chat, I believe, or somewhere, and I made the comment that I'm excited to see a game. Because WebSockets are like a multiplayer game specifically. Because in my mind, obviously there are more businessy use cases for WebSockets, but I'm thinking games. I remember that a long time ago. Wing wasn't even a thing yet, but we were working on it, and I made a little like a kind of like a dice game, and I was like, oh, this could be multiplayer. When Wing has a way to do multiplayer stuff easily, I want to remake that game, and I think now is the time.
Now is the time, man.
Now is the time to make a little cute little multiplayer.
Nice.
Thing. So hopefully someone beats me to it, because it's going to take me 20 years probably to get to it.
What's his name? I can't remember one of our contributors, one of the Wingnuts. He created a small game with dots. He implemented the WebSocket locally, and he created the small games of dots chasing each other. Florian.
Oh, yeah.
So someone beat you to it already, but not using Marcio WebSocket. Okay, so
there you go. Then that'll make it official.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the nice thing about this, I can see this evolves and goes inside the API, right? I mean, this is a capability of an API gateway in some cases, maybe not. So it's going to be interesting to take this eventually and put this inside Wing Cloud, whether it's going to be cloud with a WebSocket or functionality on top of the API. I'm interested in finding out how these things evolve. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll get back to more Wing-focused changes directly.
Awesome.
Let's talk about the console. So there was a sequence of PRs I think that were just put in from Christian to do some cleanup with the lines. I feel bad. I probably should have put a more complicated example, but I wanted you'll still see more clearly what happens with the change. So this is a before picture, and with I think it was about 3 or 4 changes, 3 or 4 PRs. It now looks like this. I'll flip back and forth so you can see the change.
Okay.
The main change is that parent nodes now there's no like line shown to represent the relationship between a parent and child, because it's kind of, I don't know, is that useful? Is it useful to see that? Like, I mean, it already has the hierarchical relationship, so showing that line isn't really giving you much, and it's just adding to the noise, which, again, if I had more things here, you probably would have noticed it being much worse.
Right. Yep.
And then there was a change to, let me flip back to this thing, for this to be a solid line instead of a dotted line. I believe this was mostly a performance change.
Really?
I believe so, and maybe Alad can actually speak to some of this if you'd like.
That's what he mentioned.
A performance change between the dotted line and the solid line?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, again, at scale. Of course, the one you probably won't notice a difference with one, but with thousands of lines, I think it starts to make a difference.
A dotted line is more performant than a solid line?
A solid line is more performant.
No, he moved from
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. This is after. I probably should have
sorry.
put labels on the screen.
Okay,
This is after.
Okay. Okay, so you didn't show the before, I think. Okay, this
Before?
makes a lot of sense.
After.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good.
No, it's my fault for not putting labels. The thing with less lines on it is after. We're going. Every change we make from this point is probably going towards less lines.
I mean, again, for me, the fact that the dotted line is less performant than the solid line makes a lot of sense. I don't know why, but it makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I mean, it looks small, but there's definitely this adds up. Things like that add up.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of talk right now from the console team about how this looks at scale.
Yep.
The Wing Cloud is itself a Wing application.
Right.
And it's at scale. I'm presumably the biggest Wing application that exists right now.
Right. It is the biggest Wing application. Elad is part of the team that is writing the biggest application in history, a Wing application in history. And we should say it out loud. The console doesn't work at scale. We need to fix it. If you're developing a Wing application at the scale of Wing Cloud, we know that the console is not helpful. And that's the reality right now. And we have to fix it, but we have to also make it much better for small scale application, because that's where people are going to start. So I mean, we have to balance those two concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
So that's it for that.
Great.
And next up is hold on. Sorry.
Oh,
1 second.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, .env file. So this is probably, if you're in the JS or TS ecosystem, you'll be used to lights hitting me in the face now too. That you'll be used to seeing these files, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. You often use environment variables in your application to control various, whatever. It's like a given in a lot of cases that you'll want to make use of these. So for Wing, the main place where you're going to use it is in pre-flight.
Right.
So being able to access environment variables in pre-flight, because you can set that from the CLI or like from your wherever you're running the compile from.
Right.
You can just.
If you have to use this correctly, if you have to use it in in-flight, it means you have to store it in a pre-flight variable and make it and access it from in-flight, and then it's lifted, right? I have to use okay.
Yeah, we try to. So the process of bringing environment variables to in-flight is intentionally explicit, because we don't want to automatically bring environment variables, because then it might be bringing sensitive information.
Exactly.
And that goes into your like Terraform state file, or I mean, actually worse, it goes into your like
JavaScript
generated Terraform, and it becomes like it goes in your AWS console, right? And it becomes like a plain text value. You give it a like the way you map things that could be sensitive, that's something we're actively working on, but just as a bare minimum, it's all explicit.
Yep.
So yeah, it does work now. If you have it in your directory and you run, it'll pick up a .env file, and it also works with the more advanced use cases I put here, like you can interpolate values in your env file, and we also support like if you want to have different variables for Wing test versus Wing compile, you can load different files.
That makes a lot of sense. I really like this feature. I mean, I'm already kind of using Wing to understand if you're running a test or not. It's kind of I don't know how to do it. Wing target doesn't give you this information. I think there's another option to know it, but this is really, really nice. Really nice. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thank you to Gary. I mentioned it a lot, but he doesn't choose this icon. I'm still requesting him to change this. I want this to be his icon in GitHub. I would like him to make this his new icon.
Yeah, this will turn into his icon in GitHub. Did you send him a good quality image of this file?
Oh, I haven't. He can pick a different one. Go SpongeBob, Gary the snail. Yeah. Pick whatever is your favorite, Gary.
No. Give him. I mean, you should tell him, pick any one of you that's your favorite. But this is the one I'm using right now, and send him the phone.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. This is him. This is him now.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, I considered putting a picture of like GCP on the slide, but hopefully the impact of this gets across so that
Okay.
Suf is continuing on her journey
Okay.
of works locally, works everywhere, and
Nice.
cloud. I forget the term that we have for cloud
Guarantee
support.
Coverage.
what?
Yeah,
Guarantee
cloud coverage.
Oh, cloud
Cloud
coverage.
coverage.
Yep.
So she's continuing that her journey there, and she added so now you can run wing tests with TFGCP target. Doing that required actually implementing the cloud dot function,
Right.
which is on its own already a big deal.
Right. Right.
It's a pretty core resource to have working for your target, so that works.
Right.
And
But
in
it's not
addition, in the
just-
same PR, she got
just
wing
not-
tests working.
It's not just the cloud function. We learned this I learned this when Hassan implemented Azure. It's the cloud function and the ability to understand how do I pack the file and upload this. In AWS, it's basically using S3 buckets to store this on an archive file, and all this mechanism. And that mechanism basically unlocks a lot, the ability to run tests, and then any other stuff we can just test. Right?
Yeah, it's arguably the most complicated one, other than maybe cloud service. The most complicated one of our cloud library.
Yep. The workload.
A lot of kudos for getting that working. And now you can use it. So now we use that with that change. Now you can all the major 3 clouds. You can run functions and run tests in all 3 of them now.
Awesome.
So pretty huge deal.
Yep. Thank you, Toof.
Thank you. And that's it.
That's it. Awesome.
That's it.
That was it, as they say. Let's see if I have any. Okay. So, Mark, thank you for having this again and again. I think you're doing an excellent job. Thank you for choosing the songs. There's some messages here about Amped. I think Amped is doing an excellent job. I'm actually looking at them right now. I mean, they made a lot of decisions, about the APIs, and I think that's important. But I understand what's how do you say this, Mark? Bronifty?
Oh, Bronifty? I assume?
Yep, Bronifty. Yeah. Yep. I understand what Bronifty is saying. Yep. Brother Nifty. Awesome. Brother Nifty. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's
I think you're talking about Amped not being like a portable solution. They try to be like a
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can see them implementing this in Azure as well. It's just a matter of they have their interface with their APIs. It's just a matter of implementing the same API. I think that the main difference is the open ecosystem here, and also the language, of course, and the responsibility of permissions. But I think you can implement the entire Amped entity interface stack in the different clouds. It's just a matter of priority. I'm assuming.
I think most tools in this space are going have a similar direction where they try to close off as much as is reasonable, and it's not a bad choice. It doesn't mean that you maintain strengths in a lot of good areas.
Right.
So it's not a bad thing at all.
Right. I would say that in the end it's not scalable. I mean, it's the world is.
Depends what you mean. It depends on what you mean, and depends who you're
scalable
talking
is
to.
the use cases of if someone is taking this tool, and he wants to build a company that will be a $1 billion company. I mean, it goes to an IPO. It's you have to have the ecosystem that you build your technology has to be open. Does have to be open ecosystem. You have to be able to create plugins. You have to be able to customize stuff, and that's what I mean. That's my. Does that make sense to you or not? I mean.
It does. I mean, I think most frameworks / tools have something for that, the equivalent of escape hatches and such. But
Right. Correct.
how good it feels to use those is definitely varies. And
Right.
so yeah,
Right.
it's a whole other dimension along which you have to work on and innovate.
Right.
So I don't envy people that have to do that, because it's one of the hardest parts of building abstractions and tools is where do you expose the knobs and like the back panel that you can unscrew and take off the case and look at it's a huge thing, huge challenge.
Right. And I have to say, I always say this, but this is still, I mean, we haven't proven this in Wing. It's not that this is proven in Wing. We have an hypothesis, an assumption that this is the way to do it, but time will tell. There's, I mean, only time and basically kind of more application being written and more complex stuff being written will tell. Of course, a lot of application in Wing will not be portable, right? It might have the mechanism to become portable, but it doesn't make them more portable. Yeah. Mark, thank you for this interesting talk. And due to time, we're not going to have the good first issue with Revital. I'm sorry, Revital. I know you were expecting this, but we'll have to do this next time. It was super interesting. A lot. Thank you for the code, the C4Q, and thank you for the rundown on what has changed and your acumen and wisdom, Mark. And again, we're gonna hear Dev Leon, You Tear Me Apart, and then we're gonna leave you. So thank you for the viewers, and see you in 2 weeks. And if I don't, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.